This is the Zone Football League.
Welcome back to another episode of the Zone In podcast, where we talk everything Zone Football League across Newcastle. As always, I'm Mason. Joining me tonight, we've got Wilso. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Very good.
That's the way. No guests tonight, so just the two of us here. Bit more diving into the results and the games that were round 14 of the Zone Football League. I guess we'll start off with the match of the round. You were there yourself commentating on the sideline.
Yep.
As always, I play for Merriweather, so I was there as well. Seemed to be ever present, the Merriweather team.
I saw you a little bit. You were hiding a bit as well. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, the first 20 or so minutes, there was a bit of tech issues, so that is unfortunate for the viewers, and we do apologise for that on behalf of Zone Football and Bar TV, but probably for my sake, I think it was good, because I hear that was maybe when you were tearing shreds off me.
Yeah, no, we spoke about that before the game, and I hadn't seen you close up, so once I saw that little perm through your hair, I had to make note of it, and that back post header that unfortunately we didn't catch. We might be able to get footage of it one day.
Yeah.
I think Cam was trying to explain why it may have happened in a football sense, and I just thought it'd come off that beautiful perm of yours.
Yeah, look, maybe a bit of extra hairspray might have made it solid, get it in, but yeah.
And I did, and it probably didn't come out on there as well. The old adage, which I guess you adhere to, is, look good, play good.
Yep.
Play crap, still look good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you don't play the part, at least you look the part.
Yeah, you still look the part. But, it was a really good game. Again, there's not many games that we've done that I haven't enjoyed. Well, to be fair, I've enjoyed them all. And I thought Merriweather started well, but even though, you were well in the game, is what I could say about the first, 15 to 20 minutes. But even in that first 5 minutes or 6 minutes, I thought Madawi had more of the possession and probably had a little bit more of the, more in your area of the field. But, it was a really good goal. It was well worked from Oliver. And, he struck it true from around 18 to 20 metres. And at 1-0 up, you're thinking you've been on a really good roll and it all looked good. But Madawi just, they didn't go away. They were...
they came back, definitely came back pretty quick. Look... Unfortunately, through a mistake of Merriweather goalkeeper Dean Gaffney, from my perspective, maybe a little brain snap. I don't know what happened.
No, it was a really unusual one. I in the call, we kind of went, is that a penalty? Like, did he need to come for it, or was it a penalty anyway? I mean, the ball was going away from goal, and you're right. If you really break it down, the keeper would probably make a better decision. I think it was gone. He didn't need to play at it. And it was a penalty, and Jack Jones, who threw the call, I thought was terrific. I think, you might be able to elaborate on it, but I thought his forward runs out of midfield were really damaging, and they were really difficult because you were obviously looking after the front two, Phillips
and Campbell,
who were terrific in their own right, but they were pinning your centre halves back, and but when they come out the line, he was making the forward runs, and later on, I think that led to another penalty as well.
Yeah, exactly. And as you say, you saw the lineups on paper and everything, but from my perspective, being out in the field, I didn't actually even realise Jones was playing in the midfield. He was that present up top, causing the defenders trouble, that it was almost like they were working a front three.
Yeah, I liked the way they worked their back four and their midfield. It was, I don't think it was a diamond. I'm not going to claim to know exactly what system they played, but what it did with Diaz in midfield, and I'm not sure if they're brothers. Diaz at the back, he was terrific as well.
Twins, actually.
Yeah, are they twins?
Yes, they are.
That makes sense. Well, they are brothers then. And Panther, which is a crazy name. He was really, really good in midfield. But what it did, the work rate in midfield from those guys allowed Jones to break forward, and his timing was good. It was a South Cardiff junior. I guess he probably come over with Fajkovic, Dennis, who was a coach at South Cardiff, because there was a real sprinkling of South Cardiff juniors in that starting lineup. But I thought he was terrific, and I probably would have given him man of the match, only that he went off early.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with him. Just a really good box-to-box midfield performance.
Yeah, and as you say, he scored the 2 penalties quite nicely converted.
He nailed
as well.
him, didn't he?
Yeah,
he
for,
just
for sure.
just lined them up. But I think, like you said, the mistake brought them back in, and that's what keepers do. Their brains don't completely function like normal footballers, and they've got all this brilliant stuff, but that's what they can offer as well. It was I'm sure your coach probably wasn't real happy with it at halftime, but
no.
and I did speak with him after the game later that night, and he was disappointed in your performance.
Me particularly?
No, not in yours. No, he never mentioned any names. He just thought that you were, second to everything.
Yeah, and probably came out a bit underdone, and that kind of showed. But yeah, obviously someone that pounced on our lesser performance was then Alex Phillips before half time.
Yeah.
Bit of counter attack from him and Campbell Reynolds.
And that was a mistake in midfield. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't think it was you. It was on the other side. It was on the right hand side, and you lost the ball. And within 3 passes, it was a goal.
Yeah.
But it was terrific the way they did it. They won the ball in midfield. Forward run. I think it was. Was it Campbell who made the run? Or it might have been Jones again.
Yeah.
But whoever made the run, Phillips made an outside run off the left shoulder of the centre half. His run was perfect. The ball was even better, and the finish was absolutely class. And
look, watching it back that night as a forward myself, I was just in awe, thinking, that I can't be disappointed in that.
No.
Like that, the intelligence, the footballing intelligence that he showed as
Yeah.
such a young guy as well. And look, we had Madawi on the couch last week, and their coach Matt Morris was saying that they haven't really been able to train much because of the weather and then the backlog of games and that. But obviously. Phillips and Reynolds and Jones and all those boys up top have some kind of intuition and link that maybe you couldn't even train anyway.
Yeah, it was just there was so much good combination play between the three, and forward runs from midfielders are the hardest run to defend.
You
ask any defenders, forward runs, you don't know whether the 6 is going to go with him, or do you step out, or do you have to go back and leave your man? But that goal, I thought, was just a great transition to attack goal. 3 passes, but the movement and the outside movement from Phillips, in the end, he couldn't. His run attracted the defender, but it was he got the passing lane right. I'm sure it was Jones. It was either Jones or Reynolds. I can't remember, but. It was a terrific ball. It was well weighted. The passing lane was there. He could have made the wrong decision and shot, but he didn't. But the finish was just, for someone who scored 15 goals, it's easy. But he made it look easy.
Oh, for sure. And as you say, Jones could have been man of the match if, as you said, played the full game. But Harry Schnitzel man of the match for this game was Joshua Capiello. I hope I pronounced that right. But give us your thoughts between you and Cameron. Obviously, you decided that recipient.
I thought he was terrific. I spoke with Josh after the game, and it was great to talk to. He was, really forthcoming with what it meant to him and the club. And I just thought he defended really well. His timing was good. Like with Diaz next to him, who's a really experienced player, they allowed you guys to take the ball where they wanted you to take the ball, and then they just pounced. That back four was terrific. Fajkovic on the left, Diaz and Josh in the middle, and
Voigt, I think,
Voigt
right back.
on the right, who was really unheralded as well.
Yeah.
They just really worked well, probably from about the 15th minute on. I thought they really snuffed his out, really strangled his defensively. But I thought Josh was also a threat off set pieces.
The man's huge.
He's an absolute weapon. He got up and won a few headers. It was only some good saves or off the line stuff as well. Desperation that kept us in it in the first half. But I thought his reading of the play was good. I thought his passing range was good. But it all centred on his relationship with Diaz as well. They covered each other. One stepped out, one got under the ball. Voigt was good as well. I like. It was 2 different roles. Obviously Josh did a terrific job. But I was super impressed with Jones. 10 or 15 more minutes, I'd probably give him the man of the match. But, it was really good to give him the Harry Schnitzel's player of the match or man of the match, and they got to sing the song, and it was a really good atmosphere, considering they had to play over at Raymond Terrace as well. But,
unfortunately, they had to move, and that in turn as well, they were supposed to have their Old Boys Day, but I'm sure that'll be postponed. Still, I guess that may have sparked them on a little bit more to want to come out and still play like they had the Old Boys around them.
And I think that's what it was. They looked way more hungry than Merewether United. There was a lot on offer. There was points-wise, either side would have got a bit of a jump on the other. You guys had a game in hand and you would have went ahead of them and really entrenched yourself into the top 4 of the top 5, leading into the back half of the second half of the round. But they've got the jump on you, really. They got the jump on Merewether, and I was really impressed with them. And if they can hold that kind of form and use the depth that they've got with the players coming on as well, they're going to be thereabouts, I think.
Oh, for sure. And look, the bleak contrast of their season last year coming 10th, and as they said on last week's episode, they were quite disappointed with that. So whoever they brought in and what they're doing this year is obviously working to go from 10th last year, now pushing 4th, 3rd. Not just trying to look for a finals position, but they might be going for glory at the moment. Yeah,
well, I alluded to that with Josh. What are your thoughts? Are you just looking for the top 5 or the top 3 or beyond that? And he said, he played it with a straight bat, and he said we're looking after one game at a time, which all players and coaches do
all
these days. All
diplomatic.
But I think they're definitely a top 3 side on what I've seen of the league.
Sure,
I haven't seen Greta yet, but I think they'll do well. Dennis Fajkovic is a big, good side, good player for many years in the NPL. He holds that back line together, but then he went into midfield, and Lawrence come on at left back, who was a younger version of Dennis, really. But he was raw and he was getting up and down. But that meant Dennis could go into the centre of the midfield, he took the place of Jack Jones, who we had a bird's eye view, and it was great that Madow, they set up a really good platform there. All covered by work cover and everything. But it was good. It was a really good atmosphere up there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and before we move on, I will say shout out to Voigt, because it was his birthday on Sunday at the game.
Was it your birthday as well?
Well, coincidentally, that was the thing we were joking about. It was my birthday as well. Yeah. So what's the coincidence of 2 people on the park marking one another?
I don't know if the information I was given was wrong, but I didn't see your name down as a birthday, but I thought Callum Hewitt was turning 18 during the week as well. Is that
the week gone? Yes,
week just gone.
Yes, yeah.
And then there was John Voigt, who I tried to make some kind of joke about the actor, but Cam had no idea who he was, and I'm sure anyone
listening back as well, it went straight over my head. So maybe for the older heads out there,
anyone who knows Angelina Jolie, link it all together and. Probably not. I wouldn't waste your time. It was, But he was a good actor. He was a good player as well, this John Voigt.
Yeah, okay. Well, moving on swiftly. Some other results from Zone 3 as well. As we touched on before, the league leaders still creating their dominance, 6-2 against Garden Suburb. A good bounce back for them, which they would have been liking after a 4-0 defeat the week before to Merewether.
Yeah, and that was a big result, obviously, for Merewether, but I mean, that was probably a real good kick up the backside for Greta, just to let them know that, there might have been some reasons. They might have had people away or whatever the reasons are. I mean, take nothing away from Merewether, of course. But it was a big result. It was an upset. And, the 6-2 scoreline the following week just takes it back to the order of, where they'd rather be. So,
for sure. And then
it was a good response, obviously.
Yeah. And Curry as well, getting a 4-1 over Bellbird, just keeping their position up there, just on the tail of Greta. Those 2 results as well as Madowi's result would have made Southern Lakes a little nervous as well, having the bye. Yeah. Having to sit back idle and just watch the others around that points. Area. Maybe get the pick on them.
I think it's going to that league and that finish for the top 5, including Merewether, Madowi, Charlestown had a good win over Barnsley, and
That
Barnsley
too, yeah.
are in and around the 4 and 5 as well, aren't they? So it seems to be tight through that bottom half, the bottom half of the top 5.
Yeah, for sure.
And anyone below that is obviously has the chance to still make it. So, yeah, you got to be winning each week and getting points each week. So it'll be interesting. The next few weeks.
Yeah, for sure. Well, there's only, I believe, obviously there's washouts and stuff, but about 7 fixtures left in the season. So
it's a lot of points.
Still a lot of points to pick up, but that's the thing. You've really got to pick up those points if you want to make a difference. Otherwise, within
and
3-4
the
rounds,
catch-up rounds as well could be big 6-point games if you're playing against someone in and around the top 5 yourself. But I mean, you look at the table and you can look at the continued results. You're thinking Greta have to be favourites to go up. They've got the jump early. So
yeah, and look, with the only one loss coming for them last week, that still, if that's the only loss they get throughout the season.
That's the third time you've mentioned this loss for Greta. But yeah, I didn't see the game, but obviously, we better not talk about it.
Not too much, no.
But it just shows they're
still
fallible.
deserved of that promotion if they get it.
But it also shows they're fallible as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so anyone around,
looking into Zone League 2 now, couple interesting results across the board, but to no surprise really, besides maybe the scoreline, the Crabs 2-1 over Cooks Hill. Seems like a grittier win that they've got.
And I followed that game on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
The results.
Crabs do it so well on their social media,
And I'm seeing they were down 1-0. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Bales wouldn't have been happy with that one.
Stop me if I'm wrong. I'm sure I'm not great on social media, but but yeah, a 2-1 just shows again that but they're still grinding them out. They're still getting the result.
Yeah, of course.
It's difficult to go through unbeaten. It's difficult not to play the odd bad game. They've had a fairly heavy load when it comes to being in the cup. So again, they have the opportunity to go through undefeated, but you talk to Wayne and it still can be highly unlikely. You only need one bad afternoon.
Yeah, and you're going into every game as a favourite. Obviously, everyone wants to win.
Yeah.
But then the added pressure of, is this where we ruin our undefeated streak? I can imagine for maybe Wayne doesn't feel the pressure too much, but maybe for the players at least, just an extra added pressure.
Well, they've got a mark on their back. There's no doubt. It's like a team that wins a premiership coming into the next season. They've got the mark on their back. Everyone wants to beat them. But any team that's unbeaten and flying like the Crabs are, they will have a mark on their back. And
for sure.
They'll lift. Teams will lift. I'm sure Cooks Hill United did that. But I think Wayne will have them grounded. He'll have them levelled. We spoke about the cliches of one game at a time. He'll be going through all of that. I've played with Wayne. I've been coached by Wayne. He's really calm. He's really laid back.
Yeah.
He's almost laying down. He's that laid back. So I think he'll have them okay. He won't have them ahead of himself, that's for sure.
No, for sure. And I feel like he's that kind of guy, and I do know this firsthand. He was actually at one of their third grade games the other night. So he's trying to obviously have his eye over all the squads, not just his first grade boys. On the tail of Crabs, though, or maybe at the tip of their pincers, the North United Wolves as well, still staying strong with a 3-0 win over Merewether Advance. As we spoke about as well, versing some teams a bit lower than you, you can't take your foot off the gas. Those are still almost the most crucial points, if not the ones beating the teams around you. But picking up points still. Wolves still on the tail of the Crabs.
Yeah, and I think the critical point there is that they've got a clean sheet, because when you do slacken off or do take it easy, the first thing that can happen is you concede. You can always come back and you can lift your game, but that's usually a tell that your head may not be in the game completely if you're conceding against a team that's maybe weaker or lower on the table. Might be a better way to put it. So the scoreline suggests that they've still got aspirations of still winning the title, and they've still got a game against they've still got to play them twice, really, don't they? The Crabs, or have they played? Did they end up playing that catch-up game?
I think they have played that catch-up game, but still to verse them in the second round. Second round, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to do everything right, and they're going to have to hope that the Crabs slip up. You know?
Well, yeah, but also not to have both eyes maybe up looking at the Crabs, because just behind them as well, Lambton Jaffers creeping up on them. They got a 2-0 win over Nelson Bay, which is, I'd say, a much better result for Jaffers in this second fixture, as earlier in the season they had match of the round up at the Bay.
Right. Yeah, no, they've come a long way.
It was a closer affair. And look, for maybe they didn't have too much. Everyone else didn't have too much faith in them being a newly promoted team. But now they're in talks for playoffs. I think maybe if it wasn't for Crabs and Norths doing so well, they might have done the double.
Well, I think they've just gone about their business quietly. You know, they're just, if you accumulate points and you can fly under the radar a little bit, and I think that's what they're doing. Obviously, all the talk's about the top two.
Yeah.
And that will probably suit the Jaffers. I think they're... at the start of the year, they'd have been thinking top 4 or top 5 would be a terrific result. And, they had to, they eased their way into it. Their results weren't super early on, but their performances were still good. So, the boss would have them in, they'd be confident, and they are starting to string a few together.
Yeah, definitely.
And the wins are important. You can draw and loss, win. But if you get a few wins together, that's when you'll see the difference on the table, and that's obviously happening with the Jaffers at the moment.
Yeah, and as you say, there weren't many eyes, not much conversation on the Jaffers, but I'm sure we can say it now that you're definitely being seen. So no more under the radar for you guys, and hopefully we.
Well, it's taken a while though, hasn't it?
They've
for
slipped
through the round, and they've got back to the start of the round and got a result against a team that beat them in the first round.
Yeah, and hopefully, we can continue speaking positively about them because they're doing great things, and Jaffers as a club and everything as well. They'd be pretty happy with that, with those efforts.
Yeah, there's a few results in there that again, it tightens right up through the 5, and and then obviously the fight for relegation that I guess we haven't fully spoken about yet, but in the next few weeks we're going to have to start thinking in that sense as well.
Exactly, with it being close, getting closer week by week to the season. Yeah, I'm sure all focus will be on who's getting promoted, but you've got to think about those teams at the bottom, and as we mentioned before the podcast as well, some of those games could be just as good to watch because of the scrap. The boys are putting everything out on the line.
Exactly.
Not because it's still fighting for something, albeit at the other end of the ladder.
Really, it'll basically go right down to the wire with all games, because there's always something. There's either premiership or semi-finals or top 3 or bottom 2 or 3 or relegation. So, but from you may be in the relegation battle, but you could be just 1 or 2 games out of battling for the top 5. So
exactly,
we're coming into a pretty important part of the season, and I think
it's definitely exciting. That's for sure.
Teams will all teams have a focus and they balance out their year, and but this is you're starting to come into some crunch times. Yeah,
for sure. And finally, wrapping out the review with Zone 1. Once again, some very mismatched, washy results. First of all, Katara South, a 3-1 loss to the Students. Students would probably be happy with that one, with uni break, I'm sure, just around the corner. So getting a few points in before the fellas knock off. But
it's Katara South. They're a little bit rocks and diamonds at the moment. But we've seen University of Newcastle, or the Students, who they like to be known as, live, and they've beaten Olympic. This competition, anyone can win on the day. And Katara South the other week, you're calling for them to be a threat to Croatia and a threat to the Suns and whoever who's at the top of the table. And then a couple of weeks later, but it's an upset because it's at home. But I'm not surprised either because these results can go any way.
Exactly,
And I
yeah.
saw a lot of good in the students towards at the start of the year.
Yeah, and with some past results of Katara that are on the top of my mind, they lost to Mayfield for Mayfield's Old Boys Day, but then bounced back for their own Old Boys Day at Nesbitt. But since then, a little shaky.
When they're good, they're good. When
Yeah,
they're
for
not-
sure. And I'm sure they would have been thinking signing Jack Reed Jones as well from Olympics MPL would have
signing.
given them a boost, which I have seen, again, from their social media that he is off to a good start. I believe 2 goals in 2 games from the midfielder. So
I mean, you can bring the players in and, you're seeing with Croatia that it's working.
Yeah.
But it might take a little bit of time, but that's not going to say that his form's not going to be good. He's just got to adjust to the different league. And, it's like you've said and like we've alluded to plenty of times, this ZFL1 is just anyone can win or lose on the day.
Exactly, and they'd be obviously disappointed with their result, but more so disappointed than that across town, Suns got the win 4-2 over Cardiff. Suns now up in second with a game or 2 in hand on Katara, I believe. So I guess that grasp on the top 2 sliding away from Katara as well then. But on the flip side, Suns coming back off a 6-0 loss to Croatia, thinking their grip might have loosened, but they're still there.
That was a big one, the 6-0 thumping. There's no other way to describe it. It's just an absolute mauling.
Yeah.
And they've reacted well with a couple of wins. That's their second win since that, and it doesn't surprise me. I mean, when like Croatia, it must have worked. But Croatia got the players. If they get it right, they're going to do that to most teams.
Yeah.
So, but Gaza probably would have felt a bit of pressure, maybe.
Yeah.
That they might have, but he's responded well and he's got him back online. And that's a good win over Cardiff, who, again, are another team that you just don't know what you're getting. And when they're good, they're good.
Also, since that loss to Croatia at Myers Park, stats come out on the forum. Thank you for everyone's opinions. We always love them. But a stat did come out. That is their first loss at Myers Park in something like 3 years.
Yeah, right.
So
a big stat.
That would have made that result very, very more sting. But back on track now with.
I mean, it was a shock. I was working at the time with one of a Croatian official, Karl Zivkovic, if you're listening, and he's a Croat, he's proud and he's loud, and but he just they just blitzed him, speed and that's the one difference, but probably between the teams, I think there's some real class through the Suns team. Yeah, it's the speed. The speed that Croatia have is just insane. In some really high areas. So.
But looking at their result then as well from the weekend, their attack is killer and everything, but we keep bringing it up. What's their defense doing?
Yeah,
a 3-4 win over struggling Stockton Sharks.
And I think the week before they had a 3-3 draw, wasn't it, with Cardiff?
With Cardiff,
yeah. So and when I was speaking to Carl he said he wasn't surprised because they can go up and sometimes they believe their hype a bit, which is normal. But they got brought down to earth. They didn't lose the game against Cardiff, but they could have. Yeah. And then, to concede 3, but, you only have to score more than the opposition.
Well,
so
exactly.
I'm sure Josh is happy.
That's one thing Pops wouldn't be worried about, their strike force.
No, I think they know they can score goals.
For sure,
they can score them from anywhere. I mean, Cal Burns come in and he's picking up points in the best and fairest. He's scoring goals. And so he should, really. He's dropped down. A couple of classes. It'd be like going from a high-level race at Flemington to a maiden at, because of his age, where he's been as a footballer. We're not talking about him being 37 or 38. He's kind of in his prime. So he's, he's doing what's expected of him, really.
Of course,
and what he's being paid for. I mean, sorry. He don't get paid. Suns don't pay anyone.
But then on the flip side, obviously losing by 1 goal, but Stockton would be probably the the atmosphere and the vibe on the ground that day would have been all right, but a little bit of sweet in that little bottom scrap in Zone 1, knowing that then Azuri with their first win.
And Mayfield. Oh, no, more Mayfield have always been. Yeah, there, sorry.
Yeah,
Keep going.
wrong Mayfield.
Wrong Mayfield, yeah.
But yeah, Azuri getting their first win of the season against Warners Bay as well.
Warners Bay aren't. They're in and around. They're kind of like Stockton as well. They're not picking up points, but they're fighting. But that's massive for Hamilton.
100%.
Like a few weeks ago they couldn't turn up. I don't know, the bus couldn't get them there or whatever it was. So, but a couple of weeks later, I think they got that's a big win. It's a huge
for sure.
win in the context of where they're sitting. I think it places them on the same amount of points as the Wildcats.
I believe so, yeah. If not only one difference or
so
something.
they're right there now. That will buoy them massively, and I'm sure they would have been singing very loudly, and
for sure.
And you never know what's going on inside a club. There's a lot of variables and a lot of things that can happen, and okay, we might see a big score line, but there's always some reasons, and maybe it just all went to plan during the week, and the players were all there, or whatever it was. It's good for them, and not good for Warners Bay, of course, but they had to win one eventually.
Yeah, for sure. And look, out of all awards for a season, you may not want to win the one that says only team to lose to the loser, but hey, someone's got to do it.
I just think now, I think it'll buoy Azuri, but your teams like Stockton, your Warners Bay, they're probably Swansea's probably out of that range. West Lakes, they are going to be watching over their shoulder now because you only have to string a couple together. And the games against each other become big 6-pointers. So
100%.
I'd say they'll be itching to play the next week.
Just wanted to take a minute to thank all of our great sponsors of the Zone In podcast. We have Deploy Football, the leading developers and manufacturers of performance sporting solutions, not only just including our awesome balls, and also sportswear with all of our grassroots clubs in helping them design and produce amazing apparel. One of our other major sponsors, Solved Marketing. If you want your problems solved are the ones to go with. Helping businesses, brands solve complex challenges with ingenuity and creative solutions. Solved Marketing is our go-to agency for all of our marketing needs, and we cannot recommend them enough. And finally, Harry Schnitzel Joint. You guys know every week Man of the Match is presented with the Harry Schnitzel Award. Definitely go check Harry Schnitzel out. And we know that all the Man of the Match recipients have been so excited to get their Harry Schnitzel Man of the Match Award and get down to Harry Schnitzel Joint. Little break on the results and matches of football with the so we're filming this on Wednesday the 2nd. The Zone League transfer window did close on Monday, meaning no more signings. Everyone's locked in now. Looking back at some of the signings the Zone League has made this year, and I guess for me, identifying the top three, we started with Jacob Pepper in pre-season going to the Suns. The great career that he's had, and now coming to the Suns. Then almost like Croatia's answer back to that was signing Nick Cowburn. Again, played in the A-League, NPL at Maitland, and now at Croatia. And then deadline day signing, not for one of the top clubs either, but top of their league, Crowders Bay Crabs, getting the signature of Daniel McBreen. You've said a personal friend of yours. Did you know about this? Were you part of bringing him into the league?
No, I was definitely not part of bringing Daniel into the league. I don't have that kind of cash. But no, I did know that it may be happening a week or so ago, or a couple of weeks ago. It was spoken about. And, obviously we're really good mates, and obviously Wayne Bailey is is a good mate of his as well. We both played under Wayne and played with Wayne. So yeah, there was talk about it, but I just thought it may have been just talk. But yeah, no, it's a great signing. Daniel.
Is Macca not a spring chicken either?
No. He's definitely around 40.
Mid
5 to 46.
Yeah.
Maybe more than that, 47. But he's had a stellar career.
Yeah.
I got to play with him early on before he went away. And, he really slugged it out overseas at some clubs. And then he come back into the A-League and he's made such a name for himself in the A-League and, obviously with all his media commitments. But he's given back to Edgeworth over the years. He was terrific through the Cup and when Zaney was coaching and I was there then as well. And it was amazing. And it was a draw card. It was a draw card for the Eagles back then. He looked to come back to the Eagles a couple of years ago and he'd done his Achilles. So this is a massive comeback.
I wonder if the Crab's doctor's gone through his medical list, or maybe it was a no questions asked.
And it was a real carry on when he did his Achilles at an Edgeworth session. Blamed everyone but himself. But he's a winner. I don't like saying too much good about Daniel, but he is a winner, and he's come out of football and he's made a name for himself in the media, but he's just still got that passion to want to succeed. A lot of players who finish their careers get into individual sports like running. He's done half marathons and runs with his wife. I'm not sure why he does that. Usually run to stay away from it for a while, but that's the type of I think it hit him hard when he retired, and he wanted to. So that's why he come back to the Eagles. And even again, when he was 45, Pete was prepared to get him in off the bench, and that's it in the NPL. I think he'll be. I hope his body holds up well and his Achilles and everything, because he's just he'll be amazing for the Crabs, and just a good character, and he'll be good around the boys, and I think it's terrific. Another real coup for the ZFL.
Look, and that's the thing, obviously big raps for Crabs for getting him. As you say, there's obviously some links with Wayne there, so maybe not too much of a surprise to the outside. But definitely to have him around the Crabs, whether he's out on the field, in the change room, at the training field, which I know was part of his contract that he won't be training and he can't play Sundays.
Right.
But also on the flip side, he
doesn't go to church or anything. Like going to play Sundays.
Not too sure.
He might not be getting
maybe no, I won't say that. But also
he likes to put things in place. That's just his ego. So, there'd be no reason why he couldn't play on a Sunday.
But maybe to bounce back that ego, I do know that they made him pay his own rego. So
there's that. I can't believe.
That's just on the rumour mill.
They may be putting that out there, but Daniel, no, he's one of the tightest guys you'll ever come across. So, but I'd say it's for whatever they have to do to get him there, I know Daniel, and I can take the piss out of him, but he would just want to still play. It's just like any player. Like for me, I coach or do other things. All I would want to still do is play.
Yeah, and I'm sure he won't come in and take the piss out of the level or the league itself, but I'm sure he'll enjoy it. I don't
think he'll be able to. I don't think you can do that. I think the level of fitness and on what I've seen, you can't just come in and especially at 40, late 40s. So he's going to have the nous. He's a finisher still. He'd have been preparing his body for this as well. This wouldn't be just having a few beers and you want to have a game.
Yeah.
You just can't come in. He could do his calf or anything in the first game, and it's he has to waddle away. So he'd be fit, and he is fit because he's been running for a while. I hope he does well.
So then,
I hope he falls over occasionally. But I hope he does well. And it's great for the Crabs.
Yeah, for sure. And so then, to take bias out of it, just off names and careers, what are you personally ranking those three signings for the 2025 Zone League as the in order of the biggest signings of the season?
It would be hard not to do it with bias, to be honest, but I've had a lot to do with two of them.
Yeah.
So Peps is still in an age bracket where he could really dominate. I think he's a great signing. He's a great guy, and he's mates with a lot of the guys, and he's a really good friend and family friend of Gary Borrowdale. So this whole link there, but he's just he's a winner as well, and at the moment it's still up for grabs, and don't be surprised if the Suns come home just off the back of Peps, because he's probably playing when he kind of wants as well. He's fairly busy. He's with his businesses. But I think when it really starts to come in, I think you'll start to see Jacob Pepper's name on the team sheet all the way in.
Yeah.
So he's, and I've coached Jacob before he went to the A-League, and I've played with Jacob. So I've got that. It's a massive signing. I just don't think we've seen the best of him yet, and I think we are going to see the best of him. Cal Byrne, he's come in, flying in, and he's doing really well in what's a very, very good Croatia team. And I thought he might take a bit, and he might be probably too far ahead in fitness and where he is in his career age-wise. I thought he might be too ahead of it, but it sounds like he's just nailing it. He sounds like, I think Calby also works a bit as well, and I think that was a bit of a struggle with Maitland. So having not to work much, having not to train as much. He probably just concentrating on football, and I think he's probably just enjoying it. And just he's a massive signing. It'll probably win them the league. Whether that was going to be the case anyway. But I think as long as he stays fit, he'll lead them to, I think, fair glory. I just think he's in some pretty good nick. But for me, Daniel he's just a character. And when you consider it's in the second tier of the ZFL. He's just let's see where it goes.
Well, look, we can reflect on these opinions at the end of the season, maybe.
I think they're all equally in their different ways. I think Calby's come in and just flying, and I think Peps, will have more influence at the back end of the year as long as his body stays in nick, and I think Macca will just be great around the team, great for the club, great exposure, good for their social media, all that stuff. Probably sponsors and but it's a hard one. As long as his body's okay, he should just maul it as well and score heaps of goals and which I hope he does.
So stop dancing around the question. What's your number one, 2, and 3?
Without even saying Macca, I think Macca. I think in status, I think he's ahead of the other two. I think because I like Peps, I'll throw Peps in second. And Calby, he should just carve it up. It should just, maybe if he was 10 years older, but I think Calby should just carve. And he is. So I'm just going to go with Daniel, and I'll probably cause him to get injured in the first game. So.
Well, me not knowing as much about those three as you do, and as people have pointed out, I'm quite a novice. They do like to throw that word around.
Yeah.
So from a novice opinion of for those people, what
is how do you describe novice? That's just like if we had a dictionary, just so the viewers know what novice means, because
probably no idea.
I just want to just say it.
Okay, good. But with someone no idea, I've also been labelled the work experience kid. That was actually quite funny.
I'm going to start reading this stuff.
I'll give him that one.
Yeah, give me the link. I think I'd enjoy reading this stuff about you.
From someone with no idea, my top 3 is going to go from the top, probably Cowburn, purely just because the points he's picking up, goals and everything. As we say, it's hard to say, but Macca probably second just because he's status. And for me, I just haven't seen too much around Peps. He's obviously integral to that squad, but not making too much noise. But as we say, we'll reflect on this in a couple months' time.
I think you're right. I think you're looking at it differently to me. Just stats wise, it just all lines up for Calby. Really, I just know how Peps operates, and I know how he was at Edge a couple of years ago. If he wants to make something happen in the second round, it'll happen for the Suns. Yeah,
for sure. Well, quote us on these hot takes of ours, and probably we'll get slammed for this, but everyone's got their
I'm not
opinions.
Sure. Yeah, I thought it was all positive, except for, the stuff about you being a novice, which I enjoyed. So.
Yeah. And so rounding out this episode, as we've said, coming into this back end of the comp now, easier to pick out what some of the bigger games are going to be at both ends of the table as well. A couple that I've picked to keep an eye on, whether you're going down to the ground, watching the club's social media, or just waiting eagerly for the scores to be updated. Zone 1, I'd say probably Newcastle Uni, as we spoke about before. They're coming fourth at the moment on 25 points versus Olympic, who are sixth with 21. This weekend, yeah. So,
which was our match of the round and early on.
It was too, yeah. So the reverse fixture of that, which I believe Uni won.
Yeah.
But yeah, still very tight. Only 2 positions and 4 points separating the two of them.
It's a big game, that one.
Yeah.
And Olympic probably haven't really hit.
They've been in the highs and lows. They've obviously come back with a 6-1 win on past weekend. Yeah. But yeah, Uni getting the win over Qatar as well. I really think it could be anyone's game here.
Yeah, it's a big one. And like you said, only the 4 points between them. Olympic, you look at their lineup and you can start to froth a little bit if it's a good lineup. But the students, they're young and they as long as they're all there and they're not partying.
Yeah.
On what I saw of them, I like University.
Yeah, for sure. And then, we may as well do tips and we can review them next week.
Can.
So you're picking Uni for this one?
I'll go with Uni. It's just Olympic. I find it hard to tip them. Although I love Georgie Say. many good friends at Olympic.
If my weeks are right, I do believe this is the first weekend of the Uni break, so I'm going to tip Olympic here.
Yeah, no, you've got some inside information I didn't have.
Could get the pick of them there. The other game in Zone 1 is the ever-present Croatia, coming first on 35 points, coming up against third place with 26 points, Qatar South at Pasadena. Big game, obviously, for both of their seasons. I believe Qatar being the only team this year taking points from Croatia in the reverse leg.
Yep. Well, Qatar, they're, like we spoke about, they're rocks and diamonds. If they bring their A game, I think they can. I think they can definitely score goals against Croatia because Croatia are just expansive and everything's about scoring and entertaining and. I think that because Qatar have got goals in them as well. So I just think these last couple of games that I think Josh might go, there's the little kick up the backside, and I think he's going to have them raring to go. And I'm going to go Croatia at home. Yeah,
look, I find it hard to go against Croatia, so I'd have to pick the same there. But look, I hope that Qatar can still put up a good fight.
Well, they easily could. They could easily win the game.
Yeah.
So it's if you're looking at it logically, I think Croatia.
Yeah. Moving up the coast now, up to Foster, Southern United, at Baronia Park. If I'm pronouncing that, it's interesting name of a field. But Southern United coming fourth, 23 points against Lambton Jaffers, the challengers, third on 25 points. Another really close game there.
Foster, it's a bit of a drive. Maybe they might go up the night before. I don't know. Depends if they stay off the drink. I'm going to go the Jaffers. I just think their form's good and maybe is it an upset? I don't know. They're away from home.
Yeah, well,
I'll go for the Jaffers.
I'm banking on the point that you made about being such an away day. I'm actually going to go Southern United here to get the points over Jaffers. But yeah, obviously a crucial game. Whoever wins that will go further and cement their spot in third. Then looking into Zone 3, big game, as we were speaking about Madawi earlier, but Greta, who are first on 31 points, versus third place Madawi on 24 points, up at Miller Park. Obviously, a little bit of a deficit in points there, being 7 the difference, though still, I guess, in the scheme of things, both teams, great wins on the weekend. I'm sure they'll both be coming in ready to go throw everything at it.
Yeah, well, this is one of those 6-point games that we just spoke about. It's right here, right now, this week. Couldn't have come at a better time for Medowie after the great win on the weekend.
Yeah.
Great to come back to form. They have to win, Medowie. They can forget about any chance of the title if they lose this one.
Yeah.
I think it'll be gone. I can only go by what I saw of Medowie. I was super impressed. As long as they don't read all this amazing press that we've been giving them, I think they can go and cause an upset. Only because Greta, there's just been a few moments over the last couple of weeks that show that they're fallible.
Especially to teams that start with the letter M.
Of
That's
course.
the fourth mention.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. But if they do win this game, they are right in it. And obviously, for second as well. But still a lot of work to do. Greta obviously in the box seat, but there's still a lot of football, and once the skates come on, it's hard to take them off. So I'm going to go for only based on because I've only seen one of the teams play. I'm going to go for Medowie upset, and the Greta fans are going to go home.
Yeah, well, I'm also going to back the upset. As you say, Medowie form before the weekend's game was good. Getting that win, solidifying third, and they'll just be eyes locked on Curry and Greta now. So I reckon, they'll be coming out fighting and ready to go. I'll also go Medowie. Basing off that, as you see below us now, our tips for this weekend.
I can see what you've done as well. You've followed me on the 2 that it could go either way, and then you've gone different to me on the Jaffers one. And now I could become the novice somehow. I could be known as a novice. So
look, that's why maybe we've got to keep a tight eye on the rest of this.
I should have let you pick first.
But finally as well then, adding to our tips, the match of the round this weekend, Saturday the 5th of July, 2:30 p.m. kickoff at Smith Park, sees Hamilton Azuri take on Westlakes. Look, as we said, it's not necessarily the top of the table games that are potentially putting on the best show coming into the end of the season. This one might be proof in that.
It's another 6-pointer with Hamilton Azuri winning their last game and their first win of the season. The Wildcats on a slide. It's probably been it's been a fair while since they've either sang their song or even got some points. So they will be driving to that ground from out at the lake. Very nervous. I don't know, do they come on a bus together or probably not?
I don't know.
No.
Can you get a boat from Westlakes around the point?
Into Hamilton, it's kind of landlocked there. But
with the rain we've had.
Canal? Throsby Creek, maybe.
Yeah. Multiple options.
There is multiple. They'll probably just come in their cars, I guess.
Probably, But as you say, maybe nervous.
Yes, I think that part will be true. They'll be nervous.
Pretty much, as you say, there's 6 points in it, but also whoever loses the game is almost not nail in the coffin stuff, but almost if whoever loses can say goodbye to Zone 1.
Yeah, that's nasty this early, isn't it? It's very nasty this early. But it's, you're on the money. It could be as simple as that. And both coaches will have them fired up. I think Azuri, they've come through a really dark period for them, and to see some light at the end of that tunnel, and and then have the opportunity to play a team that's right equivalent to where they are on the table. They would be sitting there, and hopefully they get everyone to training this week. It's wet and miserable. I couldn't have said this 4 weeks ago, but I'm going to go Hamilton Azuri.
I'm also going to go with you there for Azuri. I'm sure game gets on, nice weather. I'm sure all the Azzurri fans and Italians getting around it. I don't know who West Lakes brings, but maybe a bit of a big ask to get your supporters up. But hey, you're the match of the round, so get your parents, aunts, uncles, anyone down in West Lakes to jump onto Bar TV.
And yeah, West Lakes have had a really great history, through the leagues over the years. So and I like their coach. I know their coach over the years, and he'll be, there'll be a lot of pride at stake
for sure
out there. So I think it'll be a good match, and for all differing reasons. I'm not saying the football standard won't be as good as, because I've enjoyed the standard of all the games. I just think, for what you said earlier, just what's on the line. It could be some big tackles, some big decisions, and let's hope the referees get it right.
Of course.
I'm never critical of referees, so I just hope they don't have a bearing on someone going down. Yeah,
exactly. But we'll be showing it to you live on Bar TV for the match of the round once again this Saturday, 2:30 p.m. kickoff at Smith Park, Hamilton Azzurri versus West Lakes. Well, that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Wilso, thanks for coming.
No worries. I did want to. There has to be a shout out to your hairdresser.
Again.
Surely,
would you believe I do my own hair?
I would believe that.
Yeah.
I actually would believe that. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
So.
I'm glad you're looking at the front, not the back.
Groom. It's a full groom, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Beard, hair, earrings.
Yeah.
Everything.
Look, I'm
not Botox yet, surely.
No Botox yet. No.
You've got to look good. You have to look good.
Especially when I'm not playing good.
You've got the scattered tattoos as well, which is a favourite of mine. But I'm not hitting on you at all either. I'm just pointing out.
Okay, maybe for my safety, we'll let the camera roll. But thanks again, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.
This is the Zone Football League.